Hi, it's Coach MK. Happy Friday. Clearly, you're loved. If you weren't, I would not have blow dried my hair. I think that's the first time I've used that blow dryer in 2018, which is a fun way to start this conversation. Of course, right before I launched, I had failures all over the place. I was excited to use my a new software called XSplit, which is supposed to broadcast in 2 locations simultaneously, and I could not get it to broadcast to 1. So you got 2 ways to watch me. If you follow me on Twitch and just got the live notification, don't really care which one you pick. I had planned for 2 locations at once, so knowing that one of them would be Facebook Live, and that Facebook Live is very limited in that everything shows in reverse, which is a little annoying with, I have my whiteboard wall, and oh my god, I want to write, I'm taking notes all over my whiteboard wall. But you know what? That's okay. I can do that another day. Right now, I'm going to do 2 things. Number 1, I'm going to turn my notifications off on my phone. Right? Like that. 2, I can make sure, yep, it looks like I'm live on Twitch, and that should be fine. So I apologize, since I've now got 2 cameras after watching 2 different locations. I'm going to try to make this as fair and not awkward as possible. Yay! How do people do this on TV all the time? So, if you're waiting for the handout, yay! Oh my gosh, thank you, Pat. You're so kind. You're so kind. I appreciate it. I was just going for clean. My mom's here, and she is a little appalled now that after 4 children, I barely put pants on anymore. And I'm like, have you met the 4 kids? But that's okay. She comes here with no expectation of leaving the house and stays in pajamas for 4 days. Like, she walks through the door in one set of clothing and will be in that same set of clothing until about 10 minutes before she walks out. So,
hey, your video's blank on Twitch.
It is? Oh, wild. Okay.
I can hear your audio, but the video's blank.
Okie dokie. Good to know. Let me see what I can do about that. Yay! All right, so hopefully that's camera now. Figured it out. Sorry, guys. Playing with a new toy, and unfortunately, this is a high incentive toy. The only way to make sure it works is to turn it on and stream in 2 places simultaneously, and I've just been a little shy to do that for the past week. So here we are. Luckily, you can pay anything to be here, so I can mess up a lot. And I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, like, what in the world we're going to talk about if this is going to be, if I'm not selling anything. And I think that would hopefully make you take me a little bit more seriously than a lot of folks did last year when we did this, or the year before. So one of the things that I think is the most important part of the process is one that we get completely wrong. And that is, we look backward at our failures in 2018, and we try to fix them by going a different direction or setting intentions for 2019. And I just think that's bull, guys. I really do. I'm going to try to minimize the cursing here, knowing that it's early in the afternoon and a lot of you probably have kids around. So I'd recommend, I'm still MK, put in those earphones. You never know what's going to happen. I will no longer, it's going to be a while before I have an editor standing between you and me. So, yeah, things could happen. But what I want to do is everything differently from the start. You love these sessions? Oh, thank you. I'm so happy. I enjoy doing them. The biggest question I've had to ask myself recently, because the question I keep getting is like, when are you going to coach again? What's next? And I'm like, I cannot think that far ahead. For all I know, we're going to end up suing the school system, and then I'll have to be the volunteer in RJ's classroom next year. And that, no one wants that, trust me. No one. So until I can make promises that I know, until I know what sort of promises I can keep, I'm not going to make promises, but I still want to do the things that I enjoy. And the podcast is fun and free. Reminding y'all to foam roll every single night is fun and free. And making all these little things that are now on my podcast's Instagram, which is so much fun and free. And that takes up more time than it should. But since it's not like I must do, I'm just back to doing the things I really love and enjoying them and saying, hey, more of that. That's fun. Which is really how we should all be thinking. It's just not what we do. It's pretty deeply ingrained in the American psyche and in our culture. Let's see if I can put these two closer together without putting the screen go wonky. Yeah, okay, let's try that. Okay, a little less awkward, like someone's not looking at my side the whole time. So, what I want to encourage people to do is what I do, and I'm probably too easy on myself, but I don't really care. The places where I cut myself slack is truly where I think slack is needed. Being harder on yourself doesn't necessarily produce a better outcome. It doesn't get you closer to where you want to be. And if you remember what I've said, oh, thank you, Erica. If you remember what I've said time and time again, it is shaming to live in the should do. It's better now, right?
This is what you look like on Twitch.
Yeah.
So it's
well, I just moved the camera, so hopefully it's a little bit better. So at least they're next to each other. I had planned to have stream simultaneously through one camera. Obviously, that failed. I'll try to get that worked out next time. But yeah, I'm not a professional. At least you didn't pay to be here. That would be really terrible.
Right.
So, we're gonna do a high level walkthrough of me. Not because I think I'm particularly interesting or special, but I want you to see how I evaluate myself before you turn around and evaluate yourselves. Because most of you are way smarter than I am and much better educations. You do sciencey science shit all the time. Like, people pay you to use the scientific method to do sciencey science shit and formal analyses. And what's cool and interesting about that is that you know what the scientific method is. You form the hypothesis, you create the null hypothesis, then you test and disprove the null hypothesis, and it's set up a certain way so that you're not gaming the outcome to get rid of something called confirmation bias. Okay? And if you have an advanced degree in anything scientific, if you've ever turned on a Bunsen burner, for real, you have one up on me. Remember, I'm from Smith County, Tennessee. If I'm educating you about science, you got problems, especially if you got a graduate degree. You're going to embarrass people. At the same time, there's people that are smarter than I will ever hope to be and gone further in the sciences than I could ever hope to, are usually the same ones that throw all that analysis aside to determine whether or not they suck. And it breaks my heart. And it's really hard. Because what we do is we look back and say, all right, I gained 10 pounds this year, so I need to get rid of it. And I'm going to do this, and this. And then, and we just look back and almost like we're cracking a whip over ourselves and say, hey, I'm going to do all these things differently because, and then maybe I'll be something close to better. And I really think that's the wrong way to look at it. Let's start somewhere from this basis that you are a terrific grown-up. You adult, like nobody's business. Your priorities are in order. You do great work. What if every decision you've ever made was the right one? What if you were a totally irrational player? What if no aspect of you needed to be fixed? Hi, baby. Maybe just wiped off a little bit when you get dirty. Can I have a kiss? Yep. Can you say hi? Mwah. Now, I can't talk to everybody, and I'll come down and play with you in a little bit. Did you go read your book? Miss Sarah sent you a really nice book. Will you please go read it, and then I'll come snuggle you? No? But you've got peanut butter all over your face. All over your face. Amazing. That's the grandmama effect. We have chocolate and peanut butter on the walls, on our faces, and wine. You know, it's amazing I've had any water the past few days. But I digress. The point I wanted to make was that we set ourselves up for confirmation bias because we're operating on the basis that we suck. And then we're finding all of the data points that add credence to that argument that we suck. And we go a little bit further trying to suck somewhat less in the new year. And I just think that's wrong. Like, we don't give ourselves any credit for the things we've done well, and we're starting this analysis from the perspective that there is something that needs to be fixed. And as I've said before, this is a quote Pat Head Summit, and I believe it all the way through because I've seen it happen. I've done it myself. In the absence of actionable feedback, and that actionable part is really critical, people will fill in the blank with a negative and act there. So she always believed that her job as a coach was to make sure that she was continually and continuously giving actionable feedback to her players so that they wouldn't self-correct and chart a different course that didn't involve her, since they're all part of a team. Well, maybe we're not as formal as part of a team here. And I as much as I like that notion, it's not fair, because the team is aligned in the same direction. And if you were to wake up one day and, you know, make a choice that is totally rational with your priorities in order, that means that you don't get your run done, then you could feel like you've let the team down, and that's the wrong way to look at it. So I prefer to think of it as we're all in this together, with the same ideas and the same guide, but but rather with a lower, Alex, come on, can you help me please? With a little bit, I mean, how many of you had this happen, right? Like you're trying to stream, and the kids are right there. Luckily, I'm not talking about North Korea, am I? Yeah. 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 Thank you. Yeah. She is a stinker. Shut that door again. Anyway, sorry, normally I'm all about my kids being on top of me and all over me, but I would like to finish this before midnight. So let's take off. So in the absence of feedback, people are going to fill in the blanks with the negative. If you look back over 2018 without my help and something resembling a framework, what you're going to do is find like 15 things about yourself that you could have done differently or better, and then be really proud of yourself because you found 15 things. And all of a sudden, those become your New Year's resolutions the closer we get to the first day of the new year. I think a better process, or one that's more likely to lead to a decent outcome, one that makes everybody happy, would be to look back over 2018, find all of those same things, same list of, say, 15 items, and then ask yourself, like, why does that matter? Why does that matter? Take ownership of it, and say, let's do more of that in 2019. And that, if you've been following the Facebook page, that is what the Raw Mule Roar is all about. Instead of kind of like whimpering out of the old year, I want us to roar into the new one with a game plan of things that we enjoy and want more of, not flaws that need to be fixed, corrected, or eradicated. I think you're terrific just as you are. Better than that, I think you're perfectly made. Doesn't mean you're perfect. No one needs to be, though. But you're perfectly made. Again, if we start there as that basis, you are whole and complete, and every decision you make is the right one. Your priorities are in order. That is a freeing concept, and that sets us up for success in a way. That's what I want for you guys. So, I'm going to move away from that really quickly and pull up what I have on my phone, but you can't see, because I didn't want to give you guys the documents and have you like getting ahead of me, which is what tends to happen, as I've discovered the hard way in the past. As soon as y'all get hold of the documents, you don't either you miss the email or the podcast, or you listen to it out of order instead of all together in the way that I designed it, which I get was a lot in the previous programs. I really do. At the same time, that means that learning is a bit more fractured, or you have a piece of the whole. And I'd rather you had a notebook and a piece of paper in case I say something really, really cool, and you're like, oh my God, that thing you said, MK, that was great. And send that to me so I know what you liked about this. That would be super helpful. Might even turn into something that goes up on my Instagram, because, you know, my new design app is just too much fun, and you'd be giving me something to do. Yay! Let me find this really quick. So, the idea here and I know this is really unfair to everybody on Facebook Live because you're going to get this backwards. Everyone on Twitch is going to get to see it. But I'm going to post this here calendar. Yay. Yeah, that does you no good. Yay. I'm going to be putting this up as a PDF for you guys to download from the Facebook page. And if you're watching this on Twitch and you don't follow my Facebook page, feel free to email coachmkfleming@gmail.com and I'll reply and give it to you. And this is a high-level framework of the past 4 years. Now, we're not going to go through every single thing that's happened in the past 4 years, but you really need a little bit of context looking backward to understand where you are before you start moving forward. Because the biggest mistake you can make that means your analysis is complete bollocks. It's not actually critical or objective or unbiased in any sort of way. It's to look back and say, hey, well, this is where I expected to be at the end of the year, and this is where I am. Off target. Then you're pouting like one of my kids. And that doesn't do anyone any good. And it totally invalidates your journey of the previous year. And why would you do that to yourself? It's so stupid. But it's what we do. It's what we do all the time. It's what we're encouraged to do. Modesty and, don't be arrogant and don't be too proud. And sure, don't be too proud. Don't be conflating participation ribbon with being the absolute best that ever was at, playing whack-a-mole at the county fair. If you got a participation ribbon for that, whatever. You know how I feel about them. They're really a bribe. Bribes work, y'all. It might not get the desired outcome, but in that moment, how many of you have not bribed a child or an adult to just do something and help you get through that moment? We all do. So participation ribbons and bribes have their place for sure. But then that provides a bigger question. If we have to bribe someone to do these things, what's it worth? Are these changes that really need to be made? And again, there's a reason that you've made all these New Year's resolutions in the past and never kept them. And it's not because you failed or because you are categorically de facto by proxy a failure. It means we did a bad analysis. We came up with a whole bunch of work that didn't need to be done, and then we didn't want to do it. The only way to really prevent that is to be a little more thoughtful, careful, and conscious about the year behind us. And I'm sorry, again, I don't have written aids because the few times I've tried them on Facebook Live, they have been so not helpful because of the nature of the camera here. So anything that I tell you to write down if you can, or know that I will be posting it all in the Facebook page later. And don't worry too much about it. So here we go. From the thing that you can't see in my hand right now, that's on my phone, this PDF file that I'm going to be sending, where to me it starts, the really to think about, where was I at the beginning of this year? Okay. I was terrified. I was in bed. I was vomiting all the time. I hadn't been running in a really long time. And you've heard the podcast that we did with Alex Lanton way back when. Muscles begin to deteriorate after 3 days of unuse. Okay. I was in bed for a year. That year was not over in January 1st, 2018. It was just beginning. 26 days after that, I'd give birth to 4 baby. And then 3 weeks after that, I would dislocate my left shoulder, which would flare up my neck and turn into a bulging disc in my cervical spine, which again, incredibly painful and would keep me in bed. So, not a whole lot of running. I walked whenever I could. I got physical activity as much as I could, but I couldn't even hold the baby I'd just given birth to. So if you were to see me today, it's easy to forget how difficult the pregnancy was, how long it was. It felt like I had an elephant gestation. Elephants gestate for 20 months, man. It felt like I was pregnant for that long. Oh my God. And when I think, again, critically about the fact that almost all of the weight that I gained in the first month and a half of pregnancy when I was taking Diclegis for my morning sickness, that was completely out of control, morning, noon, and night sickness. I gained 30 pounds, and then after that, I managed to only gain 25 more before the baby was born. And the reason I only gained 25 is because I lost a whole lot of muscle. I was getting all my nourishment and my nutrition through liquids. Not a good thing, but it was all I could do. It wasn't optimal, but I was throwing everything else up. So I had to get over myself and get used to protein shakes and liquids all the time. You do what you got to do. I would not recommend that or advocate that at all as a weight loss strategy, and that was certainly not what I was doing. At the same time, I adulted like a boss, and I'm proud of myself for that. So that's where I was at the beginning of the year, having no idea how much worse the year would continue to get. So it would be very easy to look at the calendar and say, well, I was supposed to run the New York City Marathon in November, and that didn't happen. Well, loser, next year I'm going to get it done. Y'all know how I feel about the DNF and the DNS. I think, again, those are hard choices. And opting out of something that isn't going to work, That's not tantamount to quitting, and that's certainly not tantamount to taking the easy way out, especially with all the social pressure you're going to get from people who actually do think it's quitting, especially if you're the head coach of a program that people don't necessarily trust because it feels like it runs counterintuitive to everything you've heard, but it doesn't. I just keep you from kidding yourselves by making you wear a heart rate monitor. All that just to say, I could find a million ways to look back over 2018 and think like, well, that was bad. But in all honesty, I think I handled it really well. I was up and jogging again by August. And then, I haven't been awesome about it the past 2 weeks because it's been cold. And I'm now confined to doing Pilates 8 hours a week. And will probably have to do so for the rest of my life to keep my spine and the resulting pain under control. So, sounds like terrible, right? Except that that's 8 hours a week. So most of the time that I have spent running in the past is now consumed with an activity that I don't like quite as much, Pilates. But luckily I like the studio. I love the people in it. It's good to be there. At the same time, I'd rather be out for a run, right? So now I have to fit in this other thing on top of the running. I think I've managed to adult through that very well, though there have been plenty of times I have wanted to sort of like pitch fit on the bathroom floor, sit down, eat ice cream, and be like, oh, it's not fair, because it isn't, and I get it. So that's 2018, and it feels like where should I be is a really difficult question to answer. Because we make it up. We forget, and it's all relative. I ran into a really good friend of mine who'd been passing through Denver a couple weeks ago, and all she could talk about, we happened to jump into a hot tub in a ski town, and all she could talk about were my abs. And it was actually almost insulting, because this is someone that knew I'd been in pain and had called me to make sure that mentally and physically I was okay, knowing that mental injury is harder to deal with than a physical one. She was worried about me getting depressed from having been in bed for so long, and she wasn't wrong. It was hard. That was really, really, really hard. It was hard watching someone else love my children. It was hard watching someone else clean the boo-boos and manage the fights and do all the things that, I normally really love doing. Most of all, watching somebody else hold the baby that just came out of my body. That was terrible. Terrible. Like, I'm not living my life. And there's nothing, I was helpless. There was nothing I can do about it. So though this person knew that and called me every other day really diligently to make sure I was okay, even when she sees me now, she sees the one thing that she doesn't have or has wanted and is yet to achieve, and that's the abs, forgetting that the reason that the front has to be strong is to support a back that is degenerating and failing at an alarming rate. So I tell you that to tell you this. I've been so open and honest about that journey that it makes me uncomfortable sometimes, but people forget that, because in that moment, it's easy to forget everything else that happened before this moment in 2018, because it's like, yay, we're past that now. And like, that it doesn't work that way. I will never be past the trauma of my rape and subsequent sexual assault. There's no moving on from it. You move forward with it. And though my stenosis and my spondylitis is under control, that could change at any moment. And one of the best preventative measures is to do this Pilates all the time to keep it there. So, yay! One side effect of it is the front looks good. But the downside is, like, I got a mangy back. The front needs to be super strong to take care of the back. So, trade-offs, I'd rather be where I was before, not having to do where I am right now. But you see what I'm saying? Like, it's very easy to look at another person or even yourself and completely rewrite the story and forget why things are the way they are now. So I'd encourage you to do that. When I look back, I can't look just back at 2018 because again, it was an off year. It was always going to be an off year recovering from a pregnancy. And that year did not look the way I wanted it to look. I hope to be back in fighting shape, running the New York Marathon, and then moving on from there, headed back towards the same level of fitness I achieved in 2016, which was roughly 18 months after my third child was born. And that's not going to happen. I accept it. It's okay. But then I look back and I think, was I really in that good a shape? We have to take a step back a little bit further and look at 2017. In 2017, I was training for, at first, the LA Marathon. And the SI joint issues started to present again. Because I like to forget that took me out of Chicago in 2016 and made me worried that Philadelphia wouldn't happen at all in the previous month. So I started 2017 with being this close to hitting my goal and wanting one more shot at it before I went and got pregnant, knowing I could be out for a while, not knowing how much of a disaster the pregnancy was actually going to be, but saying like I needed one more shot to say I tried before taking time out. So every decision I made was the right one. It felt like in that moment. But then when I step back and take 2016 into consideration, I had been in a hard training cycle for a really long time. I had started training for the Jack and Jill Downhill Marathon in July of 2016. I started training for that pretty hard that February. And I didn't, we've heard, y'all, if you're watching this, you've probably trained with me and have heard that story already of how that didn't go well at all. And that's okay. I DNF'd and walked a lot, and it sucked. Yeah, we got to step back and take what was and be really realistic about it. And you'll see my realism. I had all of my 2015s mapped out, 16s mapped out, and I've like the only details I put in there is like had a baby, DNF, DNS, back injury, months of rehab, whatever. I kind of lay it all out there for you. But I remember I was out for 2 weeks in February of 2016 of 2017 with the beginning of what would become really big SI joint issues. So I've been battling what brought 2018 brought me. I'd really been battling it for a long time when I step back and think about it. Like, whoa, it is. Thank you. I'm so glad you're here, Amy. So it's one thing to be like, wow, I'm really weak, but like, oh my gosh, I spent 2017 in an incredible amount of pain, and most of 2018 in an incredible amount of pain. The first part of 2018, my rehab was a full-time job. I was seeing the pelvic floor PT twice a week. I was seeing my other PT for the rest of my body 3 times a week just to put my SI joint and my shoulder back together. And that went on for months. Rehab was my full-time job. That's what I spent my maternity leave doing. So when I look at where I am now, I'm not in mind-bending pain. I'm not taking CBD multiple times a day. I'm not really scared of what the future's going to bring. In fact, I'm quite relaxed about it, which doesn't mean to say like I'm going to smash every goal. That's a little different. I'm excited and I'm optimistic and I'm on fire for all kinds of things, but the pressure's really off. It'll come when it comes. I'm not where I wanted to be, but just because I'm not where I wanted to be doesn't mean I failed. Saying not where I wanted to be fails to completely take into consideration all that I managed in 2017, 2018, and realistically in 2016 as well. Okay? Because I withdrew from Chicago, ran Philly, withdrew from LA, DNF'd at Pittsburgh, and then got pregnant. Then found out I was pregnant, and within 3 weeks, I would be confined either to my bathroom floor or my bed with incredible. Oh, I love you too, Sunshine. Thank you for being here. And I love your name, by the way. Your name, it always makes me so happy to see you pop up places because I'm like, yay, Sunshine's here. It's just cool to be able to say that. I should have named one of my kids Sunshine for that reason. But I digress. So when I look back, before I can think about 2019, the plans I have to make or the things I have to say to myself, what do I want to do? Because remember, it's shaming to live in the should do, and that's another reason these changes or New Year's resolutions of yours haven't taken. We need to live in the want to do. And we need to think about what is it that we really want to do. You think you need to lose weight? I don't. And I say that with a clear heart and contrite spirit. I don't think you do. If you want to, though, I'm not here to invalidate you and say, think about something else. But let's start there. If you watched the Twitch that I did the other night about weight loss, it's a lot of work, and it's not fun work, and it's not necessarily, and it's hard to keep at because it's so not enjoyable, and it's so many things you have to think about. If you don't want to do that, that's okay. You don't have to. If this is a journey you truly want to be on, that's one thing. But if it's something that you think you should do because it's the flaw you see when you look in the mirror, or that thing that, well, it's what else am I supposed to do this for? What else am I supposed to focus on? I'd say let's stop. If you don't truly want something, we don't have to go for it. I am your coach. I am your advocate. I'm your biggest cheerleader and your number one fan. I'm your stage mom that is there being like, and wait, and yay, and filming it every step of the way. Why would you deploy this asset in a direction you don't really want to go in? It's literally pointless. So, let's think ahead where you are, put that in context, and think about where you want to go. So when I think, what do I really want in 2019? Before I go anywhere else, I want to be running again consistently and happily. I want to do so without sacrificing a whole lot of baby time, because the things with my son aren't going to be picking up till the end of February. So that means I got 2 whole months of baby time to sit around and do the fun, free stuff that I enjoy, and play with the last baby that's ever going to come out of my body now that I have 2 functional arms that can sit without pain. But don't ask me to load the dishwasher again. That the trauma of collapsing on top of that is still fresh. Thank you, husband, for managing that with me. So when I want for 2000, I want to make sure I don't miss anything. I want to miss nothing with my baby. I feel like I missed a whole year with my kids, and they were great with it. And we have new traditions, Wednesday night slumber parties and pizza night in mommy's bed. It's great. I'm going to keep that going as long as they want to do it. So when I look back, it's not that all was lost, but I want to have the option to do whatever it is I want to do going forward. And that means I might not go into a marathon cycle this year. And this is the first year where I won't be pregnant or recovering from pregnancy, where I'm going to look myself in the mirror and probably say that. I reserve the right. I'm probably going to register for when I get my code for the New York City Marathon next year. But if life gets in the way, shrug. My year's not going to be centered around that. My priority is absolutely going to be my family. Well, my health, one, because, I can't do anything for my family if I'm, as I found out the hard way, in bed. And though 8 hours a week Pilates sounds like, oh, that must be really nice. You're such a pampered pet. It's true. I mean, there are other hardships you could possibly have. I would rather not do it, but I know what happens when I don't do it. I took 3 days off for the holiday last week and was like, ow. It was terrible. And my husband kind of kicked me out of bed this morning. He was like, you've got Pilates. I think you need to go. And I'm like, okay, that's a hint. Thank you. I'm going. And I did. So all that just to say, well, the number one is going to be taking care of myself, so that I don't miss anything else next year. And I'm going to get over myself and be like, you know what, Pilates, hell yeah, and go. And as soon as I can, beyond that, I'm going to work in running. And I want to do it in a way that's enjoyable, but not so pressurized that I'm missing things. I'm opting out of things with my children, with my baby, with my husband, who, it's been a while since I've been at my best, and this has affected him no less than anyone else. So yeah, this is going to be the year of putting it all back together again. And if a marathon happens to happen, great, because the way that I train, the way I encourage people to train, the way I would encourage you to train is to make sure you're not running so little that opting back into a training cycle and ramping up is off the table. If you were to look at any of my 20-week plans, circle that period between, because I know y'all printed that shit out. Go ahead and take a highlighter through weeks 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Pick any of those weeks. Don't have to do an EAT, but pick any of those weeks, and that is a pretty good baseline. Like, don't let your running fall below that, because less than what is in week 8, really week 10 is better. Anything less than what's in week 8, and you're losing fitness for race-specific fitness, right? So that's why people in my monthly plans don't need that much time to get ready for a half or a full marathon. That's the power of it. When we are running, not so much that it's like, whoa, but we've been doing it for so long and we're such a good habit of it that, our BATNA, our baseline is week 8 or 10. You don't need a full 20-week training cycle. Like, going back to week 1 would be throwing away fitness. Make sense? So my usual week, regardless of fitness, my worst case scenario is realistically week 12 of the marathon plan, which is why I say, when I get my code from New York Roadrunners, I will put it in the system and pay the $250 option to run the New York City Marathon later. And if I elect not to run it, yeah, I get it. $250 is a lot to throw away. But remember, I worked in finance. Having that option is valuable. And that's how I'm pricing it. That's how I always price it when it comes to a race. It's an option to show up and race if conditions are good and I'm ready. And I don't buy very many options at once, especially just because I have a discount code. It's a very different way of looking at this than what most people do, and I get that. I'm not trying to be like, y'all's wrong. But when you look at it that way, it really does take the pressure off. If everything falls into place, I'll show up and I'll run it and I'll have a good time. As opposed to, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to try really hard, and because I've done it before, it has to be a PR, and now, and then I'm going to join a training plan, and then I got to get my money's worth, so if I don't get a PR, it's not money's worth, and it becomes this pressure spiral that doesn't lead to anything better. Because, you know, again, if you've done any science, you know that whole idea of like pressure is what turns coal into a diamond. It's not true. That's not. Again, someone from Carthage, Tennessee is telling you that is not science, and that's not how it happens. But it really was a terrific line from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So I tell you that to tell you this. At the beginning of 2017, I would have said something like, my hope for 2019 will to show up in New York, run the marathon, have a really great time, be maybe not fully back to pre-baby fitness, but well on my way. And then 2020, I had an idea and I had a plan. And that plan has been blown to smithereens. So what's going to happen next? I don't really know. And that's okay. Because that's the other thing I wanted you guys to get out of this. You've got to be okay with uncertainty and a certain amount of it. When you've got 4 little liabilities that I can't stop them even from, you know, I can't get them to stay out the bathroom. I can barely get them to stay out of this room. See, there goes the door. Hi.
I just have to give you a hug and then go. I have to go.
Thank you. I'm glad you did. I love you so much.
I love you too.
And your timing was amazing, by the way. That was kind of perfect, right? So since I can't control what's going to come in and go out, I can't control who's going to be sick. I can't control, you know, who's going to need me somewhere. And that was something I took on when I became a mom. And it's that that doesn't mean I don't demand or expect a lot from my body. It just means knowing that where I am right now, my recovery is tenuous. That doesn't mean I'm fragile. It just means that now is probably not, when it's really cold outside, I'm doing all the Pilates. I've got a newborn downstairs I'd like to be with, who's going to be the last newborn. My body can't do this again. That kind of changes things a little bit. And that does, so instead of looking ahead and saying, what are my 2 marathons this year that I'm going to do? Or feeling like a failure because this is the first year ever, I've not been fit enough or prepared enough to plan ahead for 2 marathons. I feel like I'm winning at life, man. And it doesn't mean I'm going to run less. It doesn't mean I'm going to do less. I have no idea what's going to happen. I might look back and be like, hey, you know what? At the end of 2019, as we're going into 2020, to be like, wow, guess what, you guys? That ended up being a really terrific year. And I ran 5 marathons. Ask me why. I mean, I really don't think I will. But, and if I do run 5 marathons in a year, I will not be like PR every single time. Because that's the other aspect of it. I feel like I've said this ad nauseum. I know everyone comes at this and is like, it's a PR or it's BS. You know, really, there's so much more than that. If I can get back into a running habit without getting injured, that's going to be great. If I can enjoy the last few months I'm going to have with the youngest before she starts daycare, that's going to be great. I only lose if I want to. And that choosing not to lose or to set up a framework for success is not tantamount necessarily to being too easy on myself or not having goals. It's not a totally straight up binary function. Thank you. I think they're perfect too. So yeah, I don't know what 2019 is going to be. I know I will pay up for the option for the New York Marathon, and then from there we'll see. I really have no idea, and it's okay. My goals are, again, time with the baby, maintaining, not being in unbelievable, unbearable amounts of pain 24/7, and helping my son, and then finding my own way back to doing this thing that I love more than anything else. So that's it. Before I lose everyone completely, because I know it's getting later in the day and my watch is charging, so I can't even see what time it is. If y'all have any questions, feel free to throw them out. I've talked now for 45 minutes. Granted, and this is really supposed to be about you. So when I've given you the framework for the Raw Mule Roar about how I want you to look back at your 2018 and take all those things that were failures, make them successes. I love using Ariana Grande as an example. I really do. I mean, she fell in love hard and fast and got engaged, moved in together, ended it. And it's over. And it would be really easy to look at her, and I've seen this in the grocery line checkout. People want to come at her. They want to talk about, well, she moved too fast and kids these days. And I'm like, I think it's completely unfair. The woman is one of the most famous women in the world. She lives in a bubble. She let a dude into her bubble. Of course it was going to happen too fast. Like, who cares? And it's probably going to happen too fast again. So she can look back and be like, that was a failure. Like some people want her to do. Or she can look ahead and say, hey, you know what? I loved fearlessly and ferociously, and I'm going to do more of that in 2019. But next time I might wait more than 3 months to put the name of my boyfriend on the deed to my $26 million apartment. Which I don't know that happened, but I read a gossip story somewhere that her manager had to physically stop that from legit happening. And if so, that's even more interesting. That's the thing you don't do next year. Don't beat up on yourself for falling in love, but don't hand away your assets. That's awesome. That's a good way to, that's a good framework to be like, yeah, more. So look back on 2018 and see that thing you want to do more of. For me, the thing I want to do more of is get over myself. Like, I never wanted to be the Pilates mom. I never wanted to be, I always had a very fixed notion in my head from where I lived, the jobs that I had. You know, there are a lot of Pilates doing yoga, Wall Street wives that carry very expensive handbags, and there's a lot of, it's a thing, and there are perceptions. And I never wanted to be there because I had the Wall Street job. I wasn't going to be the Wall Street wife. And now I'm the person doing Pilates 8 hours a week. So God has a way of humbling us all. And rather than resist it, I leaned right into it. So I'm going to continue getting over myself. I'm going to do that more in 2019. In 2018, in 2017, I remember being terrified when I wrote an article for Sexual Assault Awareness Month, which is April, for Another Mother Runner. And I wrote about, it was the first time I had written about my assault and would become the first time I spoke about it publicly. That was terrifying. I showed it to a couple close friends before it went up on the blog, and I remember their responses pretty horrified. Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do this? I'm not convinced you really want to do this, MK. What are you doing? And they were right. They care about me. They care about me deeply. And they were like, you're going to be reliving all this trauma in a very public platform. People are going to bring their trauma to you. That's going to become a connection. Are you really ready to take all that on? And I'm like, yep, I am. This conversation isn't going to change if I don't change my attitude toward the conversation. As long as I'm trying to make other people comfortable with my trauma, then trauma is going to continue. That makes it okay. So I look back on that, and I lost a lot for that decision. That was definitely used against me. And there have been other times I've only gotten more outspoken about being a rape survivor over the years. And it's so freeing. Oh my God, if I had just done this sooner, I might have been able to manage my anger in my 20s. Maybe. I don't know. Doesn't mean I should have. I wasn't ready then. But all that just to say that those things that there are always consequences to our actions. And not every action I took in 2018 that had negative consequences was categorically a mistake. Just because there might have been the immediate aftermath might have brought something I hadn't counted on doesn't mean I took a wrong move. A lot of the people that kind of fell out of my life really since 2016 were people that didn't belong in there in the first place. And so that is the baggage I let go of. And that is the powerful thing. Like, what remains, I really want to focus on. You know, and I promise I'm not going to talk about my rape 24/7. Even I don't want to talk about my rape 24/7, but I want to be with people that aren't going to shut their ears, look really embarrassed. Why are you talking? Who wants to hear about that? And walk out of the room when it comes up in the context of something like how to stay safe as a runner. I want to have more difficult conversations. I'm tired of small talk, and I'm tired of being polite, and I'm tired of making everyone comfortable, which doesn't mean I'm going to be specifically seeking to alienate people. It just means we can have thorny conversations. We can navigate them delicately. And I want to do more of that for sure. And it would be easy to only talk about the running, but this isn't about, what I do isn't about the running. It's about you. And so if this is really going to be focused on you and centered on you, then we got to look at this thing that we're doing as more than something that facilitates weight loss, or something that keeps us sane, or something that proves that we can still do cool shit as grown-ups. We need to take the pressure off of it, appreciate it for what it is, and then, and only then, can we take the pressure off of ourselves and appreciate who and what we really are. So that's my spiel. That's about as deep as I really wanted to go today. I wanted to remind you I guess my final thought before I open it up and really start taking questions, kind of broke my heart, but I've gotten this enough now. Sorry, I'm probably going to cry. Someone said to me in 2 office hours ago, sure, I'll still be coached in the new year, but who's going to love me? And I about fell apart right then. Sorry, let me turn on the light. And that was not helpful, was it? It's getting dark here in Denver. And that struck me deeply. Like, who's going to love me? And the answer is me. You know, this heart doesn't have an off switch, and neither does my mouth. But I've heard that exact phrasing now from no less than 12 women. So rest assured, I am here. The difference is I'll be here until I'm able to promise more. I'm just going to do what I can do consistently that's fun and free, and that involves a lot of these conversations. What I'm not going to do is set myself up for, the demand. Well, I pay for this, so you have to, So I'm not going to give anyone something to pay for until I'm sure that I can fulfill any promises, but I'll still be talking to you this way. I'm still going to be making the podcast. I'm still going to be on Instagram, and I'm always happy to take questions and help people troubleshoot as questions arise. But it starts before, my last day is upon us. I really wanted to remind you guys to celebrate 2018. Even if it didn't bring everything that you thought it would at the beginning. Even if you didn't keep a single one of your stupid New Year's resolutions you had no business making in the first place. Even if every intention you set went to hell. I mean, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? Look at where you are. Look at what you've done. Really give yourself some credit for it. Like, yeah, I spent a year in bed, but I managed it like a badass. And then I got out. And then I got over myself and said no to the... the oxy prescription, and tell my husband, let's see what CBD's all about. Within 6 weeks, I was 90% better. I still, that was the biggest getting over myself. That was the line I never really truly thought I'd cross. I've never cared much about legalizing it, marijuana one way or another. I'm like, oh, what? I'd rather, again, as an assault survivor, I would much rather be in a room full of high dudes than drunk dudes. It's just a different set of things you have to worry about. As long as you're not a pizza, you're probably going to live. And with a room full of high dudes. So that was a really big deal for me to be and even when I mentioned it to a couple of my healthcare providers, they're like, you're so much better. I'm like, I know. Let me tell you what I discovered and what I'm taking. And they were like, oh, good. Yeah, I didn't think you'd do that. And I'm like, what? You had that thought? Well, yeah, of course. I mean, but you just didn't seem like the type that would respond well to, how about you go to the herbal cure? And maybe that's fair, maybe it's not, but I'm so glad I crossed that line. I'm not addicted. I know plenty of people that are still taking painkillers when they don't need to. With CBD, I just forgot to take it one day, and because I didn't need it, and then I never remembered to take it again. And over time, I was like, my husband was like, "Do we need to go pick up more?" And I'm like, "No, we really don't. I haven't taken any this week." It was that simple. So if only all painkillers could be treated that way. But so that's what I'm going to do more of. I'm going to do more of getting over myself. I'm going to do more of, connecting with my family, connecting with my babies, and doing more of the fun, free things that I like. That is what 2018 is going to be. Beyond that, who knows? It's going to be free from pressure and full of fuck yeah and yay all over the place, because I will be taking all the wins as they come, rather than making an arbitrary list of things that I need to accomplish in 2019. That wouldn't take anything that could come my way in 2019 into account, and set me up for a disaster when it doesn't happen, or even worse, have me taking it out on my family. I could have been here if you hadn't. That's no way to do these things. CBD and THC have changed my life and my body. Shoot, yeah, man. I'll be talking about this, and that's another thing I'm sure undermines my credibility. I saw the viewer list go from 20 down to 8 as soon as CBD came out of my mouth. But you know what? I'm all for legalizing this stuff now. Gosh, the way it was done in Colorado was a flawed process with the way the policy was written. It's all this money was supposed to go to education, then didn't. So it's a flawed policy, but now I'm like, whoa, I get it now. This is maybe it's not a total solution to the opioid prescription, but I will have to wonder how many people got on prescription painkillers that could not then get off of them when there's an alternative like this that's available. So yeah, I don't know. I'll be talking about that a whole lot more in 2019. And I don't think that makes, and if that hurts my credibility, again, I'm talking to the wrong people, because I have listened to all kinds of stuff from all kinds of people over time, and I just went, okay. And then later, you know, as long as I didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater and like never listen to that person again, chances are, you know, over time, a lot of those ideas, I've absorbed them or come around to them. So yeah, I don't know that my platform is going to be like, is specifically going to become like rape and marijuana. And I would like it not to, actually, because that doesn't even sound like, who would join that Facebook group, you guys? Oh my gosh. At the same time, if you're in pain, I've been in chronic pain for a year. I'm happy to talk everybody through that. If you're carrying around an emotional burden because you feel a lot of guilt and shame, shoot, yeah, I've been there too. And I will talk you through that. And let me tell you about the choices that I made. During what I guess we probably could officially call my rape and marijuana years, aka my 20s, with a whole lot of alcohol. Find that empty space inside you and like look at it, just fill it with alcohol. And I did that for a long time. So, you know, I don't know what's going to bring. All I know is that the things that I've hesitated to talk about for fear of how it would be perceived, I'm going to care a whole lot less. Yay! And then I'll start charging people. So, you know, when I have something to sell, we'll see who's left behind and who still wants to work with me. But yeah, that's all there is to it. Al Hawker is here. Hi, Al Hawker. Yay. I miss you. Hopefully I can run with you next week. I've got too many kids and they've been all over me this week. So, but if you're going to the Run Star on Saturday, Al, I'd love to see you. I know you're not, but I would love to. Anyway. So I guess that is it. If there are no questions, if there's nothing else to be said, cool. Thank you for coming here and hanging out. Follow the Facebook page. You never know when I'm going to do this again. I'll try to advertise a little bit in advance. Email if you have a request for a session like this, something you want to talk about, email coachmkfleming@gmail.com. Put the request on my Facebook page. Follow my podcast. If you don't know, you can do a Google search for Coach MK Morning Mantra, and it should be one of the first hits that you get. Is the link on iTunes. But my podcast, it's a micro podcast. I try really hard to keep them under 7 minutes. I fail sometimes when I get fired up about the subject matter. But generally speaking, that's where I'm at, and that's what I do. And you can have little MK in your ear. You can have my voice. My podcast has an Instagram. Go see what I'm playing with these days. Tell me what you like, and you might see it on Instagram too. But the biggest thing I'm concerned about right now is the raw mule roar. I want to see them. I want to see all the roars of all you beautiful people looking back and being proud of what you did in 2018 and the choices that you made. And I love you so much. Oh my God. Al Hawker is one of my favorite run buddies here in Colorado. I usually meet him on Wednesdays or Thursdays. In the past two have been a little mangy. So I digress. There's all sorts of, I'm not retired and I'm not disappearing. I don't turn into a pumpkin on January the 1st. I'm just stepping away from my biggest responsibility until I know how much of me my family is not going to need, and what sort of capacity I'll have to sell going forward. But yeah, that's it. The best case scenario is everything is resolved by May the 1st. The worst case scenario is there is no resolution, and my new normal is to be an assistant in a classroom that really doesn't want me there. We'll see. Who knows? But between now and then, I'm sure I'll be, I'm going to be transitioning away from my personal Facebook page and more to the business page, to the Coach MK page, over time. And that's just because my kids are getting older and privacy is going to become more and more and more of a thing. So as long as I am breathing, I found coaching I love, running I love, pressure I don't, and demands I don't. So I'm not going to put myself in a position for folks to make more demands until I know what I have, what excess bandwidth I have to offer. But between now and then, I'll be here, the podcast, Instagram, those three for sure, because God knows now that I found this amazing design app where I can meme anything that sounds fun. I'm going to be doing less of that. It's fun, it's free, and I spend a lot of time waiting places. Get out and design something. I love you so much, Karen Schluter. No, I have questions on Twitch. Julie, I can't see them. And if I open it up now, that's a boo-boo. Julie, can you put the questions in here? I can't see them. In the Facebook Live, please. I can't see the Twitch chat. Dang it. That's what happens when, again, all these failures are happening at once. Because the player I intended to use didn't work. Thank you, Julie. I'm so sorry. I know, like, so not your job. It's a great job modeling boundaries. Thank you. Yay! Thank you. Well, I mean, I'm going to have a talk about that in my Twitch either. If I don't do it tonight, it'll be tomorrow. But there's, I've had a lot of people say things like, I don't know what to say because it isn't appropriate. I didn't want to friend you on Facebook because, like, what I want to talk about, like, what neediness actually looks like and what boundaries are. Because a lot of the times you guys stay a little too far back. And it's like, no, you can ask questions, you can email. Just I can't promise that, in a massive group training program with almost 1,000 people in it, that I can accept emails from everyone, because then I'd have no time for coaching. But now, if you guys have something to say or a manager request, shoot, put it in my inbox. If you have my phone number and something's going really great or you need to talk, shoot, text me. But please don't text me after 11 o'clock at night. I'm probably sleeping, and then it'll be at the bottom of my inbox the next morning. How do you distinguish not creating a goal because of fear versus saying that isn't a good goal or not a goal for me? Example, running a race or taking a promotion that will require more time away from my family. Well, I think first it has to start with what you want. If that promotion is something that you want, then you have to discuss that with your family and your partner to be like, what would this look like? Because at the end of the day, let's say you get that promotion and then you have the conversation with your family and they're not on board with what that would entail. That's something a little bit different. So something like a promotion, that's a pretty big change that would could potentially upset the structure, of not the stability, but your home is a system, right? And changes to a system can be a shock to a system. And the system has to be ready to bear the weight of those changes. So if it's something like a promotion or taking on 8 hours a week Pilates, or deciding to run a marathon even, because training for a marathon, training for an Ironman, those are big deals and big money and big time sucks. Not saying don't do it. Saying though, if you are the only player in your life, you have to ask yourself, it's all me. Do I really want to do this? Yes, go. But if that means it's going to be more childcare for your partner, less work that they can do, less money that you'll have to spend on, that's going to be a shock to the system, and that warrants a discussion. So the goal you don't create, if it's your secret wish, that secret wish is not going anywhere. And I've talked about that, the secret goal, that thing you don't talk about, that you don't tell me because it's so far away, qualifying for the Olympic trials, running a 50-miler. I don't really care what it is. And I'm not going to be like, that's unrealistic. I'm only going to be like, that's unrealistic if you try to put a time frame and pressure on it. Because that time frame might not be realistic, right? But the goal itself is probably totally fine. No one's ever come at me with a goal that was too big where I was like, dude, let's get real. That's never happened. The time frame is where it comes into play. So yeah, the only time I've ever said, like, this isn't a good goal, if it doesn't take into account the fact that there are other people in the family, or a family situation that might prevent that goal from happening in the time frame allotted. Because again, we think about goals independent of all the work that each goal would create. For example, I want to train for an Ironman. That's about 16 hours a week of training. And if you've never ridden a bicycle, maybe we don't need to train for an Ironman this year. Maybe we need to before we do the goal setting, look back at 2018 and see what you did really well. Look forward to 2019 and see what you want to do. And then from there, start investigating what you have time and resources to do and what your family would support. That's kind of how I would think about it. Because like the goals we don't set aren't necessarily regrets, especially if they create a litany of changes or habits or investments that we have to make in order to pursue that goal. Pretty quickly, you'll find out that getting up at 4 a.m. to go for a 2-hour trail run in the snow It sounds really nice. It might make for a good Instagram photo, but it kind of sucks. And to go from 0 to that is a big jump. So I'm not saying don't set goals. I'm saying be very intentional and conscious of the ones that you set. Because like, I want to run a marathon. So what? Well, if you look at my 2018 running a marathon in 2019, despite how many I've run before, despite the fact that running's been a habit since I was 6 years old, which again is unusual. Most people I meet are picking up this habit later in life. It's not to denigrate where anyone is. It's about recognizing and accepting this is where I'm at. What's my next best step towards your secret goal, minus the bullshit pressure that comes along from putting a time frame on it. Because I hear a lot of motivational speakers say things like, a goal without a timeline is just a wish. And I'm like, Unless that timeline is completely arbitrary, has nothing to do with the biological process involved, takes nothing into account, then it's just bullshit pressure. That's how I would look at it. So make sure it's an actual goal and not bullshit pressure is really what it would come down to. Because if it's an actual goal, great. I would love to even talk it out on the phone with you about how to work towards that, even if I'm not offering plans at the moment. At the same time, if it's what you're talking about is pressurized bullshit, I'm going to be like, maybe not. And you know the difference. And and most people do know the difference. But if you aren't sure and want some help in determining, let's go. I'm at it. So, do you want us to talk through our goals, plans with you now? We can. I'm available. And, my mom's here. My husband's got all the kids clearly like eating ice cream downstairs, so we might as well go with it. Mary. No questions. Have to run and put the kids to bed, but just noticed yesterday there is a 4-minute difference in my easy effort pace from this time last year. Yeah. That's what it's all about, man. That's a big deal. That is a big deal. It's easy to look at that number and be like, whatever that number is, it doesn't really matter if it's, a 10-minute mile or a 20-minute mile. If it's not the number you want to see, it can feel too slow, and we forget to look and say, hey, this time last year, I was actually quite a bit slower than that, so I have improved. Yay! I've improved a lot, but I'm still slow. Get rid of the but, man, and just be like, I've improved. Yeah, you have. Progress is progress, no matter how small. Pretty sure Aristotle said that. We're somewhere in really smart Greek and dead. So let's go with smart Greek and dead. You're awesome. Yay! Were there more questions, Julie? From Twitch? Sorry, guys. Pull up that window. Yay! Oh, wow, I got 29 viewers in Twitch. Hi, guys. Sorry. Was on my Facebook Live aside. Okay, and I can't see any of the questions in the chat, Julie. Yep, here's another. I got the soft okay to train for a marathon. Sorry, I'm going to put this up here next to each other again. I got the soft okay to train for a marathon in 2 years, so 2020. What should I think about with time to build for a long, far-off goal? Yay! Number one, you got to build the habit.
Sorry. So, can you make it the whole screen? Because people on Twitch literally are like, why is it
so
so small?
Wow. No, I didn't know that till now.
So go back to where you're projecting and drag it to the whole screen.
I don't know. Okay, it's not that simple with XSplit. I thought it was, but it's not. So it's set up for 4. I don't know how to change it.
Okay. Yeah, so people only see that, yes. Scene 1, scene 2, scene 3. You right click and say make one scene the whole thing. And the layout. Yeah. Okay, we'll play with it. But yeah.
We will. Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, so that needs to be that.
Yeah, I'm sure there's an easy way to do it. I just don't know what it is. We'll have to ask Jessica when she gets here, if this is the streamer that she uses. Luckily, one of our sitters is a hardcore gamer. We had no idea. She was like, "Oh wait, you're on Twitch?" Yeah, I should ask her these questions, but today's not her day. Anyway, so yeah, Susan, if your goal is not to have a goal, own it. Yeah, why would you put pressure? Like, you guys look at goals differently than I do. To me, keeping this running habit is a goal. Staying strong and not being injured is a goal. And you guys sort of somehow see that as a participation ribbon because the only goal that's worth having is a bigger distance, a faster time, or a PR. And somehow everything else is secondary, lesser, or doesn't count. And I don't think that's true or accurate. So if your goal is to not have a goal, I would put it differently. I would say my goal is to avoid arbitrary bullshit pressure to conform to other people's goals and pursue the things that I enjoy, starting with running. I think that's a totally fine goal because you know what? Keeping societal pressures away from you can be a full-time job just like rehab. So here's, I got the soft okay to train for a marathon in 2 years, so 2020. What should I think about with time to build in for a long far off goal? The same way I'm looking at it, like I might do a marathon at the end of 2019. So the short-term things that I'm thinking about, we're going into a rebuilding season. The spring, it's cold, it's dark, it's ugly outside. My house is going to be not full of guests. Guests, it's always going to be full of kids, but they're not in school right now. When they go back to school, it's going to be a whole lot easier for me to do my strength throughout the day, right? So my spring is going to be devoted to redeveloping the running habit because it's one I've fallen out of, man. Getting out of bed at 5:30 to run in the cold, in 17 degrees and dark, real slow because you're out of shape, that sucks. So going in the middle of the day is time away from the baby, and that sucks. So between now and then, I'm really going to be focusing on strength because I can do that when the kids are back in school, not next week, but the week after. I'm going to be all over that Bosu ball. I'm going to be all over Twitch. I'm going to be streaming every minute of it because when I know people are coming to watch me, that might be just the kick in the pants I need to get it done on a day where I might otherwise not. At the same time, that is very different from selling a program to you guys that's contingent upon me showing up and doing the work, thinking that will force me to do the work. Right? I see a lot of people do that too. If I put a lot of money into this and put a lot of pressure on myself, it will force me to do this. And that is a really, that's a dangerous game to play because then you're setting yourself up for disappointment and not necessarily bankruptcy, but then that's a conversation with your partner about where all that money went and they're not going to be supportive the next time you want to do something. So, the thing I would think about is making sure that you're developing a sustainable habit. All of my training plans, I don't know necessarily what other coaches do. I've never taken a poll, but I know for me that all of my plans follow a very predictable pattern for that reason. Thursday, Sunday off, always. And the good thing about that is it doesn't matter which plan of mine you get on. Thursday, Sunday is probably going to be your off day. Like if you need to shift things forward, cool. I think, Tamara the other day told me she needs to start doing her long runs on Wednesdays until ski season is over, and that's totally fine. Like that's an easy change, but we just shift everything forward. So when you know what that pattern is and it's really predictable, it's easier to make changes, right? It's not like you're going to be like, oh my gosh, wait, I have Wednesdays and Fridays off. How am I supposed to make that work? So finding that habit and routine that you can keep and continue to work with, that's pretty important, at least to me, because that's where the consistency comes from. It stresses you out and you're like a deer in headlights when changes come. Like, I'm starting this new plan, but I've never had to do Friday, Sundays off before. How's it going to work? Are you sure that's okay? Is it sure that's okay? Is that going to be enough? Is it going to be enough? Is that too much? Is that appropriately spaced? You're never going to completely trust it. So that continuity is really important to me as a coach. So my point is I would start developing that continuity for you. If you already know which plan you want to use, cool, take a look at it, get familiar with it. And most marathon plans are operating on the assumption that you've been running consistently meaning 4 to 5 days a week, no less than 30 minutes, for about a year. That's a long time. So most people don't do that when they sign up for a marathon. They do it to try to force themselves to get into shape and develop a running habit by putting high incentives on it. So, and that's why 80% of the people that toe the start line of every single race in this country will have only done 20% of the work or less. So let's make sure we can set you up for that not being you by developing that jogging habit, making sure you're not killing yourself on every single training run, and supplementing all of that running with strength that addresses the smaller muscles. That's one of the reasons why I asked you guys to use a Bosu ball and loops. Doing a lot of work barefoot to make sure that that you're at least mobilizing and utilizing all of the muscles in your feet. Those guys are really important. And last but not least, the biggest habit that's going to get you the furthest is mobility. And that's one thing I will continue to do. I've been a little slack about it these last 2 weeks, but we've had a lot going on. A whole lot of parties that I forget about until the last minute. It's like, oh my God, where am I supposed to be tonight? Shit. Once life settles back down to normal in January, I'm going to be streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/CoachMK. I'll be there every night at 7 o'clock foam rolling. And when I'm there, you can ask me questions. If nothing else, if you follow me, you'll get the notification, and follow me by clicking the heart on my page in Twitch. You will get a notification when I stream, and maybe that will be the impetus you need to be like, oh, it's time to foam roll. I didn't foam roll this morning. I'm going to do it now. Because that's one habit that's the hardest to develop for people. And I don't really care if you do it immediately after the run or later in the day, as long as it gets done each day. You're decreasing your chances of injury. And I can keep giving you that reminder. So yeah, it would be building in the good habits. It would be not eating everything now, because you're not going to be able to eat anything good when you get into the marathon training cycle. But, if you're going to be training with another mother runner, Ellie's still the nutritionist, and she's going to be offering Simply Nourished, and you can get a lot of the basics from people like Julie that have been there. And the basics really are the 2 fistfuls of veggies, right? Every single meal. And maybe that's what you start. Instead of trying to incorporate everything all at once, or really just, diving face first down the rabbit hole, start with the one thing that seems to be the hardest for people to adapt to and perform regularly, and that's 2 fistfuls of veggies at breakfast. And you've got a whole year to think about that and worry about that, and several opportunities to participate in Simply Nourished Like a Mother programs, or work one-on-one with Ellie or Jenna, who's also in our staff. So that's something to think about. Thinking about like the building blocks of what you're going to need to support your training later, and start incorporating them now, so it won't be like all the things that you have to do at once just to get into the marathon cycle. I think that would be really good. 2 fistfuls of veggies, mobility, foam rolling every single night with a really firm roller, usually with me. Again, because I don't know of anyone else doing it, but I'll be doing it. And really getting into a good habit with getting your strength work done on a regular basis, because that stuff is so important. So that's what I would think about. Developing the habit that makes the goal easy to achieve. Karen, my secret goal to I'm getting stronger. You really are, man. And you're, the only thing, Karen, is you need to accept how awesome you actually are. Give yourself credit for that and take the pressure off. You're not failing to perform in any way, and you never have been. You're a badass. Sometimes there's pressure to take that promotion or tackle that longer distance, and you feel like, yes, I must prove the thing. But you don't have to do that. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Do you really want that promotion? Is this something that's important to you, that's worth the conversation with your partner? Or are you taking the promotion because you're afraid of what will happen if you don't? That no one's going to understand it, that it's an opportunity that'll never come back around again. If this opportunity has been on the table, or has been a possibility, and you have not yet discussed it with your partner, there's a reason. Either your partner's not going to be receptive, or you don't really want that promotion, or you really aren't sure how you feel about it. So until you're sure how you feel about it, you don't want to have a conversation. I would explore that why in relation to promotion before anything else. Very little that happens in life is a big surprise. Granted, lots of things that are totally extraneous do, but something like a promotion, I have never heard of anybody that's just been going along that all of a sudden got a huge promotion that was life-changing. I'm sure it happens, but it's not the norm. So if this is something you've been working towards, or want to work towards, or aware of, and you haven't discussed it, that's what I would spend time exploring before having the conversation or making the goal. Does that make sense? Because I've done that. I'm not ready to, I don't know how I feel about this, so I'm not ready to talk about it. Well, it's crunch time now. It's go or don't. If you're still not sure, if you've met Tamara Payton, she works in a lot of our programs. She is a business coach, and she's worked with me long enough that I'm pretty confident that she would be able to kind of walk you through that, gaming out each situation and kind of deciding what you really need to get out of it. So that if you aren't sure who to talk to about how sorting out your feelings or where to start, reach out to her. Tamara.Payton. Actually, she's on Facebook. See if you can find her there. I can't think of her email off the top of my head. Or I probably shouldn't give it out in public like this. Anyway, Anne says, I'm trying to lay up another shot at half winter 2019-2020. Building on consistency with monthlies, doing pelvic floor PT. when it heats up and getting ridiculous outside. I do need some relationship work with my hubby, but also more effective self-care practices to manage stress. So option to have, maybe we need to evaluate around the next school year. And that's totally fine. What you need to do is give yourself credit for doing this other work and not beat yourself up for not having started, really pursuing the run goals yet. You're dealing with a lot, Anne. You really, really are. And you have been ever since that first phone call I had with you. I remember it clearly. So you've come a long way since then, not just in what you're managing, but how you're managing it. I'm so deeply proud of you. But I need you to start giving yourself a little more credit, because you haven't given yourself really any for what you have accomplished since 2016. And it's a lot. It's a lot. When it comes to something like even getting most things, we've been conditioned not to ask for help. That there's something weak or wrong or lazy about asking for assistance. So you have been in situations where you've had to ask for assistance on multiple fronts, and I'm sure that's humbling, but you did it. You didn't let your ego get in the way. You did what needed to be done, no matter how much it humbled you, and you need to give yourself a lot of credit for that, because a lot of folks would just stumble through sideways, failing and dropping balls and not getting what they need when resources are right there, and you did not do that. You made the hard choice. You DNF'd the race, like I did. That's a harder choice to make than stumbling forward in a bad situation. So give yourself credit. And don't put the pressure on like, right, my goal is to start marathon training in July. Like, that's arbitrary. That's arbitrary. My goal is to get through. I would like to start training for something again soon. I would like to. My hope for 2019 is that somewhere during this year, things will calm down enough that I can start to pursue a fitness goal for myself that would take me away from the stew at work, at home, in which I've been mired for the past 2 years. That's a goal. That's a goal right there. But it's also, there's so many factors that are out of your control, and you have to acknowledge those. So if you haven't started by July, it's not because you're a failure. It's because you were being a boss somewhere else that demanded your attention. So you say you need to work on your marriage. Okay, you know what? If you do, and that's great, and you haven't started half marathon training in the time frame, is that a loss? I would say absolutely not. But it's easy to look back and say, well, I didn't do, so it's wrong. It's wrong, black and white. And that black and white thinking is stupid. It is stupid. It is not productive. It doesn't bring the best out of anyone. Pressure does not turn coal into a diamond. So you are a diamond, Ann Rich. You always were. You've been making hard decisions and managing things most people watching this right now will never dream of. Can't imagine all happening at once. Give yourself hella credit. Do what you can. Focus on small, tangible, attainable, and consistent. And take it from there. You've been winning at life for a very long time. Chris, my 4-year-old was recently diagnosed as being autistic. I'm with you, girl. That stuff's hard. I've been struggling with navigating the time he needs and the time for myself for things like running and working out. Do you know of any good ways to know if I'm truly too tired and burned out, or if I just need to push through? The most advanced thing you can possibly do is listen to your body. And that's a hard thing. It's a really hard thing to take that rest day instead of doing the work as written. But remember, any training plan is supposed to be about getting a person ready for a distance. Unless you're working with a coach one-on-one, that training plan is not meeting you where you're at. You are trying to put yourself wherever day one is, right? So I think if you really don't want to if you don't want to do it and you can't imagine doing it, and a nap, sorry, let me back up. If I don't do my run, what will I do? What will that time be filled with? And if it's something that's going to, to use Dimity's phrase, fill your cup or make you feel better, do that thing. If it's just going to be filled with question mark, then I would argue you're not getting self-care. So think about what running is, and on those days you don't want to do it. Like, I know for me, again, you could take the whole MK, you do Pilates and run, and turn that into a stick and weaponize it against me. Pampered pet wife, you work out 8 hours, you do Pilates 8 hours a week, and then you run how many hours? Running is I do the Pilates even though I don't like to for my spine. It's a badass move. I do the running because I want to, because I always have. for my sanity, for it's part of who I am, and I refuse to let that go, because even if if that means I don't run with a goal or an event in mind for a few years, I'm gonna learn to accept that. So I tell you that to tell you this: there is the pressure. Motherhood can be a race to the bottom. Who can sacrifice the most? Who can give up the most? Who can talk about it the most? I was an investment banker. You know how many dinners I sat through where people are like, "Oh my God, sorry, I would put this BlackBerry down, but I'm just so busy. Oh my God, I'm so busy and I'm so important, and they can't do anything without me. Oh my God, my analysts. I have like 9 analysts, and they're all so stupid. And they can't do anything without my permission. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So sorry, I'm just gonna take this slow. Oh my God, I'm so important. Excuse me, I'm so important. I'm not gonna walk outside because they can't wait for me to walk outside this restaurant. I'm so important. I'm so important. I'm so important." It's easy to do that as a mom, and there's pressure to do that as a mom. And I think of that as performing. You have to perform busyness and perform tired and justify those things you take to yourself to other people. You are a special needs mom now. The game just changed. No one's going to give you permission for anything. No one's going to understand what you're going through. No one's going to understand that high functioning autism isn't the easy autism. It's still autism, y'all. And it doesn't mean you're lucky. And it doesn't mean that you're cursed. What it does it mean, I don't know. But people that aren't in your shoes have the tendency to say a lot of the wrong things. So I'm not saying withdraw from everyone you ever knew. I am saying think about what running is to you and think about what those running goals mean to you, because they might be your lifeline as you go through this. God knows they were for me. If I hadn't been able to run in 2015, because my son was diagnosed right after my third child was born in 2015. Running was my lifeline. But you also got to remember this: my whole life, I have not gone out for a run in order to pound the pain away or to beat myself up. I go for the freedom, the alone time, the time away from the phone, the time where I'm not answering to anybody, and I just let my mind run. And I think all the thoughts and I feel all the feelings, and I put them aside, and then I come back refocused and refreshed. And there will be some days as an autism mom that you can't do that at all. And refreshment might feel light years away until you have all the resources you need to just get through a Monday or a Thursday. For some reason, Thursday is the worst, especially when my husband travels Monday through Thursday. And there are some weeks where he'll come home on Sunday night, leave on Tuesday morning, and stay through Friday. Let me tell you what it's like when Daddy doesn't come home the day after pizza day. It's a capital P problem. So on those weeks, I know I'm going to need extra support ahead of time. And luckily, like, my husband's always been really fantastic about it. Like, he gets it. He's not here, and he wants to make sure that I have what I need so the kids have what they need. So, and that it can't all just be about me. And that's the good thing about him traveling. A lot of husbands that don't travel might not be as forgiving. So make sure that, or might not be as not forgiving. There's nothing to forgive. They might not be as understanding. Well, this is why you stay home. Well, this is why you do somehow. So obviously I don't know you or your husband, so I'm not trying to demonize anyone. I just watch these conversations go wrong. And by wrong, I mean you give away so much of yourself, because what wouldn't you do for your child? That you forget what your child really needs is a turbocharged mom that is there and in it and with him and doesn't resent the situation. And the only way you're going to not come to resent all that comes along with this diagnosis is if you take the things about yourself that matter the most and hold on to them for dear life. It's not my job to tell you what those things are. But I know for me, one of those things is running. I was a runner before I was anything else, and I will be a runner when I am nothing else. That is the one non-negotiable in this marriage, and my husband knew what he was getting. We had no idea what sort of children we'd be getting or what sort of life we'd be living or where we are right now. And the only way I can deal with all that change is if running is not a question mark. You need to find that one thing for yourself that isn't a question mark and give yourself the grace and space to do it, and make sure your partner is on board with that 100%, because the last thing you need, and I'll stop here, the last thing you need is the person that you're sharing a bed or a life with to give you grief or make you feel guilty for retaining those one or two things that you need in order to be you. Once you start going into support groups and you see how twisted you can become when you have to treat the world like an adversary to get basics for your child, it's easy to walk into that room. I remember the first time I saw it, I'm like, man, I'm terrified of becoming any of these women. They are vicious, and they have to be. They have to be. because they're attacked so often and they're denied so much. So I think that having something, at least two things, for me, one is running and the other is I'm probably not going to discuss it here so far out in public because it's mine. But finding at least one or two things that help keep you. And again, hang on to those for dear life. So that if you're hanging on to them, then that means that makes it easier to not push through on a day when you don't need to. I will do this tomorrow. And maybe that means that we get you on some sort of a running maintenance plan as opposed to a hardcore perpetually staying in a training plan with a ticking clock where missing a run feels like you're behind. We just need to, what we need to shift is your perspective, but I really want to make sure you're getting at least an hour to yourself each day, specifically of self-care. And I don't care if that means that's running an hour, easy effort every single day, or if that's, I don't know, if you're like Ellie and you have a freaking sauna in your basement and you're spending not an hour, I think that's too long. You're spending time in that sauna every day. Whatever your thing is, find it, do it. But don't put pressure on it so that you're giving yourself grief or feeling guilty on a day when you choose to do something else with that time. Because that's when you know that you're burned out for multiple days in a row. You don't want to do anything. And it might not be about the running. It might be about the situation, right? We like to, when you start opting out of more. So when you have two things that are yours that you do every single day, and that's not necessarily 2 hours per day, but it's two things. And again, my second thing is personal. And email me, coachmkfleming@gmail.com. I'm totally happy to get on the phone and talk to you about it. But though, if ever for more than 3 days in a row, I have opted out of both running and my other thing, then I know there's something bigger going on. And that has nothing to do with either one, right? And that's when I go see my therapist. Rebecca, I love that notion of rebuilding the running habit. That's exactly what I am thinking, but it's hard to let go of the ego being slower. Are there other numbers to focus on to make me feel more successful, so to speak? Hell yeah, the number of days you get out. So one of the things that I loved in my plans, and this isn't bollocks, this is like when you look back on 2018, you might be like, well, today my run was a 13-minute mile. But then you look back over 2018 and you see that, hey, I ran 1,000 miles. I ran 100 miles in the month of December. Those are the numbers. That is the consistency. I ran every single Thursday. There are 52, let's say there are 51 Thursdays in 2018, and I ran for 49 of them. Whoop, whoop. Whatever that thing is, look for it and be proud of it. But that's where I would look. Consistency matters more than pace. And if you can go back and look at how quickly the miles pile up when you're being really consistent, that's the number to focus on. And that's going to excite me more than if you were coming to me for one-on-one coaching. Everyone starts with pace. Well, I'm this kind of a runner. And I'm like, that doesn't tell me anything. It never did. I told y'all that in the first podcast. Try again. Yet y'all have to say, it's like there's a scripted conversation that every single runner has to go through. No matter how many times I say, that tells me nothing, that tells me nothing, that tells me nothing. When you run that 8-minute mile, what's your heart rate? How many miles? You're 6 and then you're done? Yeah, we don't need to work on your endurance. We need to slow the F down. Whoop! Stop racing a 10K every Tuesday. So I tell you that to tell you this. The numbers to focus on are how many days a week are you running? How many weeks of those have you had in a year? So when you have, like my happy place is 48 weeks a year, I'm running 5 days a week, minimum, when I'm healthy and happy. So, which is not to say if you run less than that, you failed. Again, that doesn't take anything that happened in the year into consideration. And that would, I'm never going to look at 2018 was an aberration. It was not a failure. But you can, as long as you're looking at something like and I've never, let's say 2018, maybe you're still slower than you want to be, but you've been logging more miles than you ever have. Maybe you've had fewer breaks due to injury than you've ever had. That means you're doing something right. Pace is a reward. It's not a participation ribbon. And that reward is going to come through consistent, diligent work without pressure that you enjoy. So that's the number that I would focus on more than anything. Because that is one of I wouldn't say it's my top goal, but it's a goal that next year I would like to get back into that pattern of running minimum 5 days a week in my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off pattern that I've lived with for so much of my life. So, and if that's only 3 weeks, you know what? I'll take it because life. Sooner would be better, but I'm not going to be like, I will do this by June, and then beating myself up if I don't. So that's the way to do it, because if you set something that's arbitrary and don't give yourself a little bit of grace to go with the flow as life happens, it's easy for July to come around and be like, oh, well, that one's out the window. I failed. And then you don't run any more that year, which doesn't really make any sense. You see what I'm saying? So the way you frame it is going to matter, and take that kind of seriously. So the numbers to focus on, how consistent was I? I'll get it done. The question that I love to ask people at the end, the call that we would have at the end of a training cycle while we're talking about their race blueprint, I would always say, how many runs did you miss? Everyone would kind of sit back, because I have a script too, y'all. Everyone would kind of sit back and be like, well, I have my sticker chart, and I'm only missing 3 spots, and those spots really bother me. I'm like, so you've been running 5 days a week? Yep. For 20 weeks? Yep. Okay, that's 100 runs. Yep. You've only missed 3. Yes, that's 97 out of 100. All right, I haven't been in school for a while, but that was an A when I was growing up. So you got an A on your training. And that would usually blow their minds, and give them the confidence they needed to go, and maybe not. It does, having confidence in that way doesn't mean that you will get exactly what you want on race day, but it's a hell of a better place to start. Did I do all that I can do? Did I do all that I was willing to do? And then move forward from there. Because that's really what you got to live with. As soon as you cross the finish line, you're going to look backward and think about those 3 runs you missed. I should have done more strength. I should have done more ability. Shoulda, shoulda, shoulda. And it's shaming to live in the should. So that spiral of shame, you're going to be desperate to get out of it by jumping immediately back into another race cycle, no matter what's going on in your life, with no regard to anything, trying to train the shame away. And the best way to avoid that is to focus on numbers like, how consistent was I? How much did I enjoy myself? Do I still want to run? And those matter. Those matter more than anything. And my final thought before I move on to the next question here. Even the smartest people, the people who are like, I love data. Data makes me happy. I'm kind of a geek. And by the way, I don't ever say that to people, man. Nothing pisses me off more than being like, I'm a geek. Because I did a whole lot of college admissions interviews for Penn when I moved out here for 2 years. There's a 1 in 3 chance that if you lived in the Denver area and you were accepted to Penn, that you were interviewed by me. I did that many. And the thing my hang up from that period that I still hold on to now was how eager these kids were to impress me. And they would start with, I'm kind of a geek. And then get really disappointed when my face wouldn't change. And that would scare them. So, and it bothers me just as much as an adult. But that's my hang up. Anyway, where I'm going with that is, it's easy to talk about data. It's easy to talk about numbers, because that makes us intelligent and rational and objective, because numbers are always objective. I worked on Wall Street. I played a lot with numbers. I'm telling you, numbers are not objective at all. People trust numbers and ask their own questions around them, and they buy the story that I'm telling with the numbers if they don't actually know enough about them. And that's everyone. Because once you thrown the gauntlet down and said you love numbers, and you never want to talk about the space in between the numbers, because that's qualitative analysis, and we're above that. I will use that ego against you to get in the meeting and get what I want and get the F out. And I did that for a long time. I was really good at it, because there's no one easier to manipulate than the person that sits in front of me and swears that they have intellectual superiority because they like numbers and they like data. I like cleaning, collating, and presenting data. I really do. I know how easy it is to manipulate the R squared to show exactly what I want. So you can choose any number arbitrarily that you want and use it to beat yourself up or define success. It does not necessarily mean you're winning, you're ahead, or that your analysis is better than anyone else's. So I would say find the numbers that lead to consistency and make you feel good, and never forget that the story doesn't lie in the data set. It's why 2 people can take the exact same data set and come to different conclusions. It's common. It's part of peer review. And that happens because the story lies in the space between the numbers, how the numbers interact with each other, and how you view them. So I would encourage you to use the analysis that reinforces what a badass you are for picking up a new hobby over the age of 25. And sticking with it. I would pick the numbers that make you feel good and make you want to continue, rather than shame you into doing more to prove that you're worthy somehow, because shame doesn't, I mean, they've got a whole boatload of studies on psychology now. No, we know shame does not lead anywhere good, and it does not teach your kids good lessons. But it's all we know how to do, and we do it to ourselves because it's what's always been done. I'll stop there. Are you shaming yourself, or are you truly performing an analysis? There are plenty of ways to succeed while getting away from that pace number. That aren't and those ways to succeed are not tantamount to like giving yourself participation ribbon. They're actual wins that people miss all the time. Linda, thank you for making our lives better. I have to scoop. See you again soon. I love you, Melinda. Go have fun. Oops. Yay, Amanda. Yay, Rich. Chris, I needed to hear all of that, and I would probably email you. Yeah, feel free. I wouldn't. These are. I do have boundaries. That struck me back in 2016. I was accused frequently of, you don't have any boundaries. This is really inappropriate. I'm like, well, if I picked up on this needing to be talked about, then maybe it's not me that lacks the boundary. I just said I'm willing to talk to you, and I happen to be free right now. So yeah, I'm always happy to talk to people. I've been through these situations, and there's nothing worse than being in it and either not feeling like you have anyone you can talk to, or all the people you that you can talk to are the wrong people. So I might not be the right person, but I'm happy to like start the process, or at least thinking through what do you need to get. Because remember, I'm your advocate, right? I'm your stage mom and your stage coach. I want you to have whatever it is that you want, whatever it is that you need, and I want you to keep going. So that's a gift we can all afford the people around us, but it's hard. We all got a lot going on in our lives, except me. Emily, I distinctly remember me asking you about that. You had the confidence in me that I didn't, and it was a huge mind shift going into Vegas, where I PR'd by like 18 minutes. Yay! Yeah, I remember that conversation too, Emily. You were amazing. Vegas is always a tough one. Like, I get that it's a night and it's fun until you get to Vegas and you can't eat or drink anything because you're racing on Sunday night and leaving on Monday morning, which sounds like a great idea until all the people you're with are getting tanked. And then it gets cold and windy in the desert, because that's what happens in the desert at night in November. Is that all the questions? Let me pull Twitch back up. Sorry, I'm going to move this over here. Oh, Uncle Bill Druin. Yeah. I was like, why am I getting all these Discord notifications? Thanks, guys. Uncle Bill, if you're still here, I will hop in there and ask a bunch of questions. I have no idea what I'm doing with XSplit. I thought I'd set it up correctly, and I suck. But yeah, that's it. All right, so that looks like it's all the questions in Twitch, and it looks like all the questions in the Facebook Live. Oops. I'm out of quiet mode. I had no idea quiet mode existed. That's why so many times I do Facebook Lives in the past, I haven't been able to see the comments. I'm like, what is going on? It's hit or miss. So there we go. Any more questions, go ahead and throw them in there. It's, I don't know what time it is. My husband is on the stream, and he's not yelling at me to come downstairs yet, so I'm not in trouble. But we've been going for an hour and 40 minutes, you guys. Yay! Liz, thank you. You're welcome. All right, you guys, you're coached. You are loved. Let's look back at 2018 and count the wins before we look forward to 2019 and start making demands of ourselves, right? Let's celebrate what we've done well and accept that, you know what, the things that we didn't do or the goals that we didn't meet are not failures, because we're fucking fantastic, badass adults that get shit done all of the time. That time you didn't spend running, you were probably with a sick kid. I know I did a whole lot of things I didn't really want to do, but my autistic child got all the therapy he needed. I put aside a whole lot of responsibilities to go take him physically 3 days a week out of school to an occupational therapy office, and he has shown it was worth every minute. We made a lot of shifts and a lot of sacrifices and a lot of changes to accommodate a lot of changes that we didn't want in 2017 and 2018. But that I don't look at what didn't happen, because I look at what did, and I'm like, Jesus, what could be better than that? What could be more important than that? Like, absolutely nothing. I am good with every decision I've ever made, and I want you to be as well. You can and will reach your goals. And finally, you are perfectly made. Just what if I'm right about that, right? What if I left every inch of religion behind me when after my rape, because I was subsequently assaulted by someone, a member of the church, a high-ranking member of the church that I went to see for comfort in the wake of that. And so religion has betrayed me in so many ways, but the one tenet I keep coming back to, the one thing that gets me through that lifeline: you are perfectly made in the image of a perfect maker. Perfectly made means I'm whole. I'm not lacking anything. And in the image of something perfect means that I don't have to be. And that is a freeing thought, you guys. I am whole. I have agency. I have free will. I can do whatever I want. What do I want to do? Let's make 2019 about the want to do. Accept that you're perfectly made. There is no part of you that needs to be fixed except your attitude towards yourself and your perspective on your big potential. That is what it means to be coached and loved and winning at life, even in those moments when you don't feel like it. Confusion and nervousness, that is brain sweat. That means you're doing something hard. And I want you to start looking at the brain sweat in 2019 and giving yourself a little bit of credit for it.